action research.
Okay, now, uh, uh, here we go. So, I think that's human action research, and we said yesterday that we started a case. I mean, when you are undergoing a process like this, when you have to start with defining what's going on, among people in the company, then you say, okay, this is what I'm analyzing, what's the result, and I'd like to go to these kind of results of the interactions among people with their jobs and with the outside, that is with the market or with the customers and with the suppliers. And you go in which you identify the future state and you see the means to reach that future state. But then you have to evaluate all the moves that you're making with the principle that it is usually a complex system because you have different strategies among different actors. And so new possibilities are generated while you are developing the solutions and trying the new roads to the future. So you need to evaluate your actions. And then when you are satisfied with the results, it's a collective you, that is all the people involved in the project, from top management to the, then you institutionalize the action research. That is, institutionalized means that may have the new ways in which people relate to each other and to their knowledge and to their skills become stable within the company. And that is as we have seen in the preceding slide, the force field theory, this is a different level, a higher level of performance. So it's like you come to the beginning, but on a higher level, right? And so it is nowadays, since changes, especially in the technology, information technology, change so quickly, you are in a permanent state of change, of evolving situation. So what you need to do is to keep always in touch with what is developing at the moment and what will change the ways you're doing things, you're relating to each other, and you're relating to the outside, to your suppliers, to your customers, to the regulatory authorities, etc., etc. So change nowadays is like a permanent, it's a steady change, and you have to keep in touch with those signals that are at the moment weak, but then your skill is to understand which signals are the ones that increasingly become stronger, like for example with artificial intelligence, uh, which which ones are stronger, which one will be disruptive with the ways you're conducting your actions, your business, your, if you are a non-profit organization, with your goals and purpose, general purpose. And so you have to sustain change by participative learning process. That is, unless you are in a company like Bethlehem Steel Company at the end of the 19th century or the 1800, unless you're that way where people were unskilled labor, then in any other kind of enterprise, you need to go in depth into the motivation of people and what they're doing and how they relate to each other with different jobs and with different skills, and how they identify problems, how they then once they have identified problems or opportunities, how they are going to solve the issues that are between them and the goals. But the goals are not something fixed, are something that is going that changes and goes on constantly. Of course, you cannot have a constant change every day, a day by day change within your company. Otherwise, it would be impossible, for example, to set up even models for for making forecasts. So you don't need to change day by day, but what you can do that every so often, and you can decide when maybe some weak signals become stronger, then you decide to sit down and think with a number of people, management of course, but also some knowledgeable people that have been in favor of change, that are curious, that are interested in getting to know what's going on. Then you sit down and devise and define what if it's okay the way you're functioning, the way the company is going on, the way your evaluation systems are in place, and so that's what you should be doing in the present context. Now, in the case we are considering, we've seen that what happened was this, that you had on one side a number of banks, 10 banks in that case, and there you have vendors, and they relate to each other in the sense that a number of vendors are in contact directly with banks, and all of a sudden banks decide that, well, what is happening here, the information and communication technology innovation is so strong and so wide and so pervasive that we cannot afford to do it on our own because it will need too many investments. On the other hand, we cannot ignore ICT innovation because also our normal customers or the companies that refer to us in order to have money to invest in their activities, then they also have an innovation, and we have to answer that. So what they decided that they needed a go-between their needs and the vendors, and so they generated this organization that's financed by the 10 banks, so that this organization, this enterprise, which is owned by these 10 banks, has to what? To develop these skills, because vendors have proposals and offerings, and this company, on the other hand, has needs and requests by the banks that are the owners, and at the same time, their customers. But their needs and requests are not only their own, are the ones of the people that refer to banks to get money, that is a loan, and small, medium-sized enterprises. In that case, mainly small and medium-sized enterprises. But if you go to large banks, they don't use altogether outsourcing. They outsource part of it, maybe cloud services, but not all of their systems, the largest banks. But in this case, there were interregional banks which decided that it was better for them to resort to a new company that would help them organize the offerings and the proposals of vendors so that best deals would be granted to them. So that this company had to be able to interpret, integrate, choose, and negotiate. These are the corporate skills that had to be developed by this new company. Of course, so if they develop these skills, they would actually be able to monitor innovation here, and of course in people and banks, because of the new requests of people and companies and the requests that they did. And of course that led to have an innovation-oriented company here as well, because how can you understand innovation here if you are steady and stiff in your... So after 10 years after the launch, what happened was that the results were not satisfactory because they had anomalies in their information systems, the banks, even though they were run by this company here. So, and costs were higher because they had you see, as we said here, 10 expected. The relationship with vendors was difficult due to ongoing claims and contract renegotiations. So at this time, what do? You say, well, we have to decide what's going to happen here because we have to decide to identify the future state. And so I have to decide, am I going, since I'm not satisfied of what happened during a 10 years time span, I'm going to do it on my own to identify this future state, or I'm going to ask the help of a consultant of another firm that's going to help me identify what's going on now and what I'll need in some time, and define some actions to improve my costs and at the same time the results of my of the software, for example, and the machines, the hardware that I am running in order to satisfy my owners, which are the banks. So I have to undertake this journey, and I decide to use the expertise of a consultant because I'm not an expert in human resource management or in organizational management. So I have to ask someone that is in this business. So what I do, I ask to my owners, and I say, well, can you find out who can be a consultant available for us? And so a number of companies were contracted, and for example, my proposal to them was in these steps. I said, well, it seems like the basic problem that you have is that the people you have are not used to work in a very coordinated manner. They are very bureaucratic. They are not on their goals. And so they need to have new values, new ideas, and they need to themselves to find out where to go with the help of consultants that act as methodologists and facilitators. Methodologists need to be there because through the experience of other projects in other situations, then a methodologist finds the best possible way to approach the specific problems of that reality. So then there was the need, of course, how do you train your people? How do you update their skills? We have seen in the lesson on digital transformation that you need a lifelong learning and you need to strengthen a number of skills which are needed for the digital transformation. Of course, being an outsourcing a company that is already within the digital, it's going to be easier for them, but still, and we'll see what happened in there. Then you need to revise not only to see if the training system that you have in place now it's enough, or if you need to reinforce it in certain aspects. Then you have to revise the communication policy with the vendors and within the company and with the banks in order to enhance relations and exchanges with clients, vendors, and knowledge centers. Now, the drastic change in performance management system now, saying how are the people, the 200 people, there were 200 people working in that company. How are these people evaluated? On what basis? And is that useful or not? Are you satisfied with the results of this evaluation system, which is called performance management system? That technically, that's the way you refer to an evaluation system of jobs. Performance management. How you rate it? So the first step was, as it was agreed that this was convincing, this way of approaching their situation, then from that general model that I showed you before, that is this one here, you have a specific model, which was this one, in which I'll show you now, in which, okay, this model was discussed with top management and with there was a convention, a meeting with about 80% of the people working in that company. So the model is this one. Okay, what is our business model? Well, the business model, as you know, because we spoke about it, is a very synthetic way, or it can be even more analytic, a synthetic way to describe how you develop your offering, how you relate to your customers, how you relate to your suppliers, what kind of technology you're discussing in order to have a, a clear concept of responsibility within a company. Okay, so the business model was substantially described here from in this area here, but in general, the business model was to that they had to satisfy the needs of the own the share of the company. Now, their customers were their owners, and the evolution of the evolution of the business model was that they should be so good at the company should become so good at what it was doing, that is outsourcing the banking information systems, in order to sell their services not only to their owners but also to other banks, so they would lower the impact of costs onto more customers, so that each customer would be relieved from even more than just the 10 banks, but the more they were, they would spread costs on a larger basis. So a business model means that once you said that, what are the objectives and the strategies, and how do they evolve according to the evolution of the business model? What are the processes and roles? What are the processes means? That is, how do I reach, what are my strategies? How am I going to pursue my objectives? Processes, that is, what are the actions that I am undertaking, and what are the jobs that support these processes? And within this, the importance is on human resource communication processes, communication of expected results by on individuals and units, organizational units, and the communication process concerning knowledge diffusion, knowledge management, and training. All this was based on the levers to achieve objectives through human resources, that is, skills divided in ability and knowledge. Now, knowledge would be more on scientific, well, let's say, in this case, technical knowledge concerning software and hardware. Ability is more relational, that is, how people relate to each other within their jobs, people that are doing similar jobs or people that are doing completely different jobs. What are the guiding ideas that support us? Guiding ideas in not very specific, standardized way of behavior, but guiding ideas, because for 200 people, you must have some general, not generic, but general ideas that can be used. For example, one of the principles was we should give our customers what they need, not what they ask us. In the sense that we are the expert, we have to help them understand what the real need is. So our guiding idea is that we are not waiting passively, we are proactive, we propose things. And therefore, each one of us, each one of the employees of the company should be motivated in taking a proactive action toward their jobs, their individual goals, and of the goals of the unit where they're working. Of course, motivation, guiding ideas, and skills are embedded in human resources and organizational learning. That is not a process that is once a year in which you put people in a classroom and then you just tell them what they should learn. No, it's something that knowledge for learning, and they learn from what happens in the different projects that are being developed with the interaction in the course of the interaction between vendors themselves and the banks, because you learn how to save money, how to save investments, and how to improve results by being aware of what is going on, of what techniques are applied by vendors, and how are they effective in resolving the problems of the banks for what information systems is concerned. Now, once you think of this, of all these supports to achieve objectives, then you have to realize what are the critical areas in the company concerning competencies, that is skills, guiding ideas, and motivation. And what are the critical areas in human resources management, in the organizing, and in learning. Now, of course, the levers are established and performed by both staff and line through the performance management system. Staff and line, a staff, a typical staff would be the personnel department. And line are the people actually performing the job, either software expert or hardware expert. Now, remember that they were running some core technologies and some core systems, but then they also had to take care of the some 6,000 personal computers that were spread among the 10 banks. So they had to find the best bargains, at the same time the best qualities, also in the hardware, also in personal computers that were to be deployed in the 10 banks. So this is the model, and discussing this was to be discussed with the people, as I showed you in the preceding one. The individual in-depth meetings were conducted by consultants with 30 middle managers. So on what basis? Now I'll show you, I'll give you, now I cannot leave it with you, for two reasons. One is that it's in Italian, but the most important thing is that I don't own it. All the intellectual property is in possession of the company for which I did the action research. Of course, I have the intellectual property and of which I published an article of this with this case, a scientific article, and but it's differently. The tools that I employed are belong to the company that actually has paid the company that I represented at the time, and that is the reason why. And then it's not important to have exactly, but just I want to show it to you because just a minute. Let's see if we can. Okay. You see, this is, I'll translate some of the main point. The project was managed and managing and developing change. The guide was used for the meetings with the 30 managers, 30 supervisors and managers. They were not top managers, they were middle management. Now, what was the idea? The idea is that it was not just a mere interview. Okay, I say, we'll meet you tomorrow and we'll speak on the basis of just question and answers, and you tell me what you think on the basis of what I am saying. No, it was supposed to be a discussion that would last about an hour and a half, and there will be two people discussing with one individual person, because one, which was myself, would actually lead the discourse, the talk with the person, and the other one would actually take notes. Because if you are concentrating in taking notes, you are not looking at the person and its reactions and see where, not only in his or her words, but in the expression, in the body, in all their moves, what they were suggesting, so that you would guide to the next issue on a timely manner without being too forcey, but at the same time not being too weak with respect to some key questions that you wanted to know. Because the idea is that, look, it's not that we are coming here to tell you what you're going to do. We are just going to help you find yourselves where you want to go. Because if you define what you want to go, then reasonably enough, if you're honest with yourselves, you'll find a way that you can actually use to get to the new objectives. Because you know your resources, your personal resources, and what the ones that are missing. So if we understand actually what you think about all the issues that are in that model, then you yourselves are going to develop a way that is going to get you to the goals, that the new goals, or actually the new performance levels that you want to reach, to use the terminology by Kurt Lewin. Okay. Now I'll show you some examples. So this guide was given to the people that were going to have these individual discussions 15 days before, so they would think about it, you see, and then you see this is the index, and I'll show you some of this. What are the objectives of the meeting? So there were meetings, 1 hour, 1.5 hours. Now, the basic idea was that everything that was said in that room would stay in the room, except that some the most significant suggestions and analysis that they would make within that meeting would be conveyed, not without the author, because he had to be anonymous, but would actually build a report that will give the most convincing or the most relevant positions among all the people that discussed, the 30 discussions that we had with the managers and the supervisors. So let's see some example. I'll translate them for you. Now, you might object. Oh, why are they supposed to believe you that you're not going? If someone is fiercely criticizing the CEO, for example, how do they know that you are not going to tell the CEO? Well, indeed, if that it doesn't seem so, but it is that if you start having let's say if you are known, if your reputation in the business is that whatever is told to you, you don't say to anyone, then that so once the company chose us that is myself and the other people that were working there, they knew that we would not say who was saying what. Yeah, we wouldn't tell. In fact, there was only an attempt on the part of the new general manager of the company that at the beginning they asked us also to have it's part of the human resources development to know we had another kind of interviews concerning the potential of people there. Potential means that maybe some people in the company were not employed to the potential, that is they maybe were under under evaluated, or they were not employed for their potential. They could do much more, but they were not acknowledged for that. So at the end, we made a profile for each person, and we said, that usually, and it was needed to do a thing like that in that company because we use this. Well, this claim say there are several gold nuggets in each company, which are hidden and not known because maybe their supervisor does not appreciate them because of personality clashes or whatever. So having out someone from the outside that, as the interview says, well, this person seems to be motivated but could do much more, because if you put her or him in a better position, here it's not uh, developed enough, so it's a waste for her and for the company. So at the end of this kind of analysis in a preceding project, the general manager asked me and said, "Look, Mr. So and so, we had. It seems like he's got money from one supplier because someone said about that." And then, what do you think? He could be able to have this sort of a bribe. And what I told him, I said, well, you can ask that question to the police, not to us. We don't tell you what are the possibility for a person to be a thief or to be bribed. We can only tell you if what is she or he are doing at the moment for the company is aligned with their expertise, not if they're ethically oriented to do something or something. That's something you can ask the priests, you can ask the police, and you can ask yourselves, not us. So that was something that it was clarifying our relationship. So after that, no one in that company asked us who said that, who said this other thing. So all the people that came to our meetings, they were relaxed. They knew that what they were saying, they could be sincere and honest, because they knew that if they were not sincere, then they would actually not help the company to improve. And so they had to be responsible in the sense that they had to tell the truth, because they were not going to be betrayed, and not their person was at stake there, but only what they were thinking would be the best analysis to find out the way to improve the performance of the whole company. So let's see now. You see, the model was given to them so they would think about it. See, and then, for example, skills, exploring the key competences of the company, areas in which the know-how of the company has to be excellent, in the sense that it's not what you think it is. You must tell us, in your opinion, what is the competence, the skill of the company at large be excellent, because otherwise it cannot do a good service for the banks and cannot find the best suppliers. And so they, during the discussion, we would list, they were not supposed for the 15 days to fill in that. They would just use it for their own good. They would come to the meeting and they would have notes on here. But it was only a spoken interview. It was not a written interview. We would take notes, but we wouldn't keep their notes on this meeting guide. Then we would discuss in what areas with respect to these skills that should have been excellent, what were the main weak points of weakness, so that if you say what your point of weakness are, you can decide, you can understand where you have to deal. Then on managing competencies, what what does it mean in your opinion to be orientated to the needs of the customer in general, in your unit specifically, and for you personally, where, how, and when you are meeting whatever suppliers, customers, banks, or whatever, how do you define the ability to design in this company? Did you participate in a success project of the company? In which period of time? How long did the longest project last? Uh, and so they would say, oh, in this period, they said. So then the next question was, on the basis of what criteria have you judged the success of this project that you just told us? And for the future, what are the factors on the basis of which you will be able to determine the success of the projects? Now, contingency is very important today and in future. And for what reasons? Because of what? We know that contingencies, that is something that you didn't know what happened before, it usually happens. So in the general activities of the company in general, or in your specific work unit, or in your personal job. So this, but all the areas here you see, and this area was on the managing performance management, and say performance management based on planning, guiding, evaluating, and then compensation here, like bonuses or whatever. So then we needed to have an idea of what they thought about their performance management schemes. See there, as you can see, there is a number of questions, a number of issues more than questions, on which they had to say what they thought. Okay, so here we gave him, for example, the present way that the performance management was structured. That is, each manager or each supervisor would have these items to evaluate the work of the people that were working for them. For example, professionality. What are the specific skills that the person has for the position, for the job that is performing? Is she or he available to update their skills or not, or they exist? And for each one of these items, the supervisor would say whether it was 1, 2, 3, 4, or 4. So being not available 1, 2, the available 3, and very available 4. So what happened was that this system was not to be effective, because all the supervisors, in order for the their people would not complain, they would give everyone 4 that is very available to update its professional skills, or they are very good at the specific skills they are supposed to have to perform their jobs. So for all designer professionality, organization, and managing problems of resource problems, that is problems of the people, quality of service, but they were very generic, you see. So the basic idea that came out from the discussion is that this kind of approach to performance management was not valuable. It was just a formal bureaucratic way of getting to know what you already knew, or even being false, because it was impossible that you had problems for the company and everybody was very high performing person. That was something that was not credible. So you see, that's the use of having these meetings, these in-depth meetings. Wait, we just interrupt this. Interrupted. Now, do you understand? Am I
Yeah,
clear or
yeah,
not?
yeah. You are
Yes,
clear.
yes, Professor.
Okay.
Yes, sir, Professor. I just have a question, please.
Yes, please.
So
So, yeah, go ahead.
in your opinion, having an unbiased third party analyze working conditions and employees working situations, basically, is that the best way to gauge the situation in an organization
No, I'm
from this
afraid I don't
exercise?
understand your question. Can you repeat it, please?
Okay, yes. So from what I understand, you and other evaluators came in as an unbiased third party.
This company was owned by 10 banks.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And you basically analyze the working conditions and the situation in the organization, right?
Yeah, the basic conditions and the organization were
Mhm.
actually were we looked in the first period in which we found out the analysis of the situation was
Okay,
performed by us as consultants looking at
okay,
the papers and the projects that were carried out.
okay.
And then we interviewed obviously the top management,
Mm-hmm.
and then we had the 30 meetings with the middle management and with the experts of the company, and performing this interview, this meeting with using the meeting guide that I showed you. So putting all together all this information, we had a pretty good idea of the working conditions and of I mean, there were no problems of like there would be in a company like the steel.
Okay, yes, yes.
Taylor, of course.
Of
They were
yesterday.
all
Mm-hmm.
people that were graduated from university.
Yes.
So they were before they were working for banks. So usually contracts in banks are uh, quite good for the people
Mm-hmm.
working in the bank. So there was no problem of uncertainty
Okay.
concerning their compensation. The problem was that many people there weren't very well motivated because
Okay.
they had high skills, but
Mm-hmm.
they didn't think they were employed to have a satisfaction in good projects, in well-performing projects, you see.
Okay.
So the basic problem was that they would be like a very fast runner, which
Okay.
is which is obliged, who is obliged or is obliged to walk slowly
Okay.
because it's not allowed to perform appropriately. So the basic purpose of the whole endeavor here of
Mm-hmm.
the change management is to allow people to actually build their own strengths and maybe put aside the ones that were against change. For
Okay.
example, one of the things that came out of from this meeting were that there were some people that once upon a time, that this may be at the beginning of the company 10 years before, they were experts in software, in information and communication technologies. But then they didn't update their skills, so they were now just a block. They were blocking the evolution of younger people, and so the idea was, okay, we wouldn't remove them at all, but at least we wouldn't give them any longer a a place or a job of responsibility. They would not be any longer supervisors, because otherwise their way to supervise was blocking the growth of of uh, of the people working with them. So this is the problem. Okay, did I answer appropriately to your question or not?
Yes, Professor, you did. And sorry, I just have another little follow-up question.
Yes, go ahead.
So this kind of analysis, would you recommend they be done by external consultants? So that's consultants who do not have any affiliation to the organization,
Now,
or
I
yes,
think your communication is disturbed.
yes, sorry, I
So
mean,
so just, I feel like it's like with Mr. Sano, it's the same thing. I don't know if there is a connection.
sorry, Professor,
Between-
can you
What did you say again? Sorry. Can you say the question again? This last one. If it was you had a suggestion.
Mm,
You want to
sorry.
give more? I think it was Rose Grace Usman
Yeah.
speaking, right?
Yes,
Oh,
yes,
yeah.
he was.
So what did she say? Now I cannot hear very well. But anyway,
She was just asking about what you would recommend. Would you want
no,
external?
now it's not. You cannot recommend in abstract. My recommendation is that as a method, you'd have to realize if the change, for example, you are a company that's expert in coal mining, okay?
Yeah, yeah.
Then you realize that you have a technical problem.
Mm.
So what do? You ask for a consult
Consult
from outside maybe in a research center concerning
coal mining, concerning coal
mining,
mining. Yeah.
and then they help you focus on the problem. But then on these issues like human capital or people management or training and that, also in that case, you can see in that case you should have a consultant and the inside human resources or personnel office, because otherwise the new methodology will not be understood by the people
Mm.
that are going to stay there permanently, and so that change will all the time you'll need to go to the outside with a lot of expenses. So it is important that you all the time you evaluate what you can do inside and what you have to buy outside. And if you buy it outside, the consultants have to work strictly with your people. Otherwise, they're just working for themselves to earn their fee, but they are not actually contributing to the development of the company, which is the end objective and the reason why you're asking consultants to work for you, even though at times for large companies, a consultant is hired to confirm what the strategies of the top management. And that's especially true for the biggest consultancy agencies, in which they are asked, okay, you're an independent consultant. Tell us if our strategies are good. And they usually say, oh, they have interviews with top management, they see where they want to go. And so at this time, it is very hard to be able to tell if they are going to actually speak what their mind, or if they're just trying to be nice with the top manager that's actually paying their fees, you know. So in those cases, but that happens only with very large companies or corporations. When you have to do with smaller ones, then the entrepreneur wants to have a good value for their money, right? Okay. Now we have it's 10 to 4. We can stop for 10 minutes and we can go on after that. But we only have you're only 4. Today you're only 3. There is Mr. Sano, Mrs. Samania, and Usman Adejo. You're only 3. The other ones are on the seaside or what? You don't know, of course.
No, I don't know, Professor.
Okay, maybe they are swimming at the
Professor,
seaside.
I have a question, but if we are going to go for break,
Maybe we can do it at 4
after
o'clock.
the break. After the break, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Buongiorno, Annie. Okay.
Here we are. I think we went from 3 people on to 5. Great success. We doubled.
Yeah.
Okay. So now I just want to add something to what we were saying before. When you said what I would advise you now, the basic principle that I found out through my consultancy, through what I would better call it action research, is that you have to decide whether to do it within the company and outside. Now, how do you base yourself on what basis do you organization need to make as a same stakeholder who benefit from the status quo might not embrace change? Right now, and I'll answer, Mr. San, I'll answer to your note in a while. Before I want to finish this thing about, so the criteria is that you have to choose a consultant or someone that has a good reputation, a reputation that first they don't find a place they want to get in and they don't want to leave forever. It's like having a pension, you know. And so reputation of being very to be theoretically sound, but at the same time to have a good experience in the specific field. So therefore, you have to know yourself what you really need. Sometimes you don't really know what you really need, so you can use the first talks with the consultants because before you actually decide which one of them to choose, so that you can clarify your needs. They are usually very available. They are available to explain to you reason what they are going to do in general in order to convince you that they are the best. But then, since you know, and I have been preaching this concept from the very beginning of the course, your critical thinking is very useful because it's not that hard to understand that they're just using propaganda in order to convince you to give them the job, you know. So, but you can use these first meetings with them in order to clarify your own ideas, you know. Maybe you start from saying that you need to improve whole human resources at large, but then maybe it's only a problem of the middle management. So what then you have to have a consultant or a researcher that's expert in middle management. But now everybody is has done some research or some consultancy work in middle management, because especially in digital transformation and in areas in which you need change, then you need to then middle management is critical, because actually top management is up there with the helicopter overview, and then you either down to job to normal worker, and that's too specific. So middle management is the one that is in between, and as the actually knowledge to see the specific problem that they are addressing. At the same time, they have a wider view. Okay, that is the specific I want to say. Then I come to Mr. Sano. Don't you think complexity might be the determinant of any possible changes an organization need to make, as some stakeholder who benefited from the status quo might not embrace change? Well, complexity, in fact, I mentioned it, is complexity is it's the larger the company, the more complex is to find a way to a future state that puts together an agreement of the different stakeholders on a future state. Because by definition, certain stakeholders, for example, the interest of a short term, or the short term interest of a shareholder, is not the same as the short term employee stakeholder, because the shareholder said, okay, I just want the money now, the dividend of per each share that I own. I don't care if the company will survive in a year or so, in 2 years. So of a shareholder is different from that of a employee. So you have to understand what is the power structure in that company, and then complexity theory can help you identify what are the different groups of stakeholders and their relative power, what are the goals they are pursuing, and according to this analysis, you can understand how you can drive your boat in that sea of not of hurricane, but where you have high waves. So it is important that you understand how the different power structures are related within the company. And you're right when you say that some stakeholders are actually the ones against change, because they're actually earning some money or some power from the present situation, and they don't want to change it, because if you change it, then maybe they are going to lose the power they have now. So these are the ones that are against, that are resistant to change, and it is important that you define them right at the beginning according to the field, the power field, by Kurt Lewin, the slide we've seen before.
Yeah, Professor.
Yeah, Mr. Sano. Yeah, go ahead.
I hope you'll hear me this time. The reason why I came up with this question is
Now,
because
there is disturbing noise.
can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
I can hear you, but I can hardly hear you, because your voice is your voice is not clear. It is with the background noise that is so
I got it. So I have to speak
Dia
slowly.
was large with the purpose of outsourcing HCD function really to be too costly. So
Okay, now
how
let me
you-
let me try and speak slowly, and you see whether you can hear me.
yeah,
Can
but
I?
well, why don't you write it on raising your hand? Just the concept written.
Okay.
Concept.
Yeah, for sure. You're right. I'll write it. Don't worry. Thank you.
Yeah.
Mm.
Write it down, not a novel, just a synthetic kind of. Okay. While you write, I'll ask Melkonian, what does Melkonian think about this issue of change and managing change? What do you think, Mrs.
I think it depends on, I think it depends on the stakeholders, what stakeholders actually think about their HR team and management. So if they think that changes are necessary,
Okay, you
so
have
they
the
might.
same problem as Mr. Sano. That is, there is a disturbance on the internet.
Yeah.
Did you write
Yeah.
a thing where do you have to raise your hand? Otherwise, I cannot see it. Where do you put it?
I am yet to write the question. I'll write it and let you know.
Wait, let me see. You wrote it somewhere. Okay, on a chat. Did you write it on the chat? No, copy and paste it on the chat so I can read it. Can you copy and paste it?
Yes, let me do that. Let me do that now.
Okay. Yes, don't think complexity might be a mistake. Benefit from the status quo might not embrace change, of course. So go ahead and write something else. Did you cut and paste it on the chat?
I'm typing.
No, I can't see it. Let's see.
Okay.
Okay, chat now. Who benefited from the status quo might not embrace change? Is this the question? That's exactly.
No, I don't. That's the old
Okay,
question.
sorry,
Don't worry.
maybe in the place I am, the connection is bad. Yeah, okay, that's it. So can you write what your question was? Otherwise, I cannot answer to you because I can't hear it. Okay, never mind. Maybe later on with us. Now I have to go on. So now this was the model, and then what I want to show you here on this slide. Okay, let's see on the chat now. Okay, animal was clear. Okay, so the change management, the entanglement of knowledge and innovation. Now let's see what I have to say here. The first point is the mayor should monitor relevant knowledge in a systematic way. That is, should be able to exercise a timely evaluation of the consequences of ICTs and banking. So not ICTs in themselves, but in ICTs as deployed in a banking system and banking systems innovations on both its objectives and primary and support activities. Second point, from this evaluation process, Bio can decide the acquisition of key expertise, define its impacts on processes and capabilities to redefine strategies and organizational structure. Now, let's see what do I mean. For example, you have the project of change in a bank, change of this information system or part of it. So from carrying out this project, the company, the outsourcee, that is bio learns what are the problems, the issues of that bank, and what problems do they have with that specific supplier or vendor. So you get knowledge from practicing, developing new projects. And then you have other external knowledge centers, partners, vendors, research centers. So you get some knowledge from your own project teams, and you get some external knowledge by contacting external knowledge centers. Partners, remember from open innovation that we have contacts, companies that apply open innovation they have to find out partners that are giving them knowledge of certain areas that are being developed. Vendors are interested in giving you some information because, of course, they want to sell their services to you and to the banks that you represent. Then there are research centers. Maybe, for example, you can contact a university or that is known to address research in certain areas, so that you can, by having contacts with these institutions, you can monitor the innovation processes. Then you see internal knowledge centers. How do you have to build internal knowledge centers? Who are they? The people and the units that have the most significant knowledge in each area. Now, this is a representation of an area in which here you have all the possible areas, partners, vendors, research centers. Here you build a list of these centers, of these vendors, of these partners, and here are the areas of expertise. So you build this internal knowledge centers through the relationship by actually analyzing your project teams and asking them to actually feed their knowledge onto these internal knowledge centers. At the same time, your relationship with partners, vendors, and research centers builds knowledge from the outside onto the inside. And what do you do with these internal knowledge centers? You actually build knowledge building and distribution, knowledge management systems, which you do that, of course, through the inside the internet, the company in intranet, or through the internet relationship with partners, vendors, or research centers. Of course, you can have discussions, for example, in project team discussions, so that you have these databases which are built with conversations with experts or just with notes, with papers, with the critical articles, all that are relevant. So you have to build a knowledge base, but not an abstract knowledge base, a knowledge base which can be used by people working on projects. And what are those projects? Are the projects that are funded by the banks, but that you have evaluated and that are interesting for all the banks that are the owners of the company and that are the best vendors that are participating in these projects, in which you are, of course, paying. And so this is very important because it's the knowledge that you use actually to develop your actions in a concrete, both theoretical and concrete way. So skills inventory, maintain list of abilities, knowledge and education. Now, what is a skills inventory? Is that you have to understand what is the real competence that you have to develop while you're doing things for your customers, that is for the 10 banks that are paying your salaries at the same time they're paying the vendors' projects. What kind of abilities, knowledge, and education you need to have? What are the people that are working in the company? I mean, they are engineers. They are what? Information engineers, or just or what other kind of education do you need? The specific knowledge. Some legal, of course, banks are regulated institutions. So do you need not the knowledge of the relevant regulation of banking system, which is relevant for your bank, for the banks that are your owners, or in general that are regulating the relationship between the customers of banks and banks themselves, so that you are supporting your banks with some information systems that allow them to understand the requests of their clients, or of their own customers, that is the smaller companies or the larger companies. Well, so the skills inventory means that what your people should know in the different business units of the company. Now, let's see a bit more in depth the performance management cycle adopted by BIO. Now, once we finish the interviews with the 30 people, I met with the person that was taking notes with me. We went over the notes, and we came out with the fact that the performance management, the script that was used that far was not good any longer. You should use this kind of approach, which is actually the one that is used among the most innovative companies. It starts with the fact that it's a performance management cycle. Of course, you have the first phase of planning, identify, plan, and revise goals and activities in agreed upon action plans. That is, it's not that you have a list, as you have seen, of what is your attitude towards updating its knowledge. That's not meaningful. You have to identify and revise goals and activities in agreed upon action plans. Now, I am the manager of a unit of a smaller unity within the company, within BIO. What do I say? I try to identify the goals for the following period. They could be 6 months, it could be a whole year. And then I say, okay, I meet all the people working with me, and I tell them, okay, in my opinion, our goals are these ones, and are the goals that I have agreed upon with my supervisor, with my boss. Now, he agreed that these are the main objectives that we have. So we have to, as we have to carry out our work for next year, for the next 6 months, according to the objectives that I have agreed upon with my boss, which I agreed upon in general, we have to be very specific. So we have to think of how we are going to reach those objectives that are of interest to with a higher view. So the first thing is we plan together. That is, you say what, according to your expertise, you should be doing in the following months in order to help reaching the objectives, the goals of the whole unit, not only your personal ones. But then the other step is planning, guiding, and interpreting. Now, managers should monitor and orientate their team members to implement specific plans. And on the other hand, the team members, each person is proactively engaged in adapting her activities to evolving objectives. Now, this is the first is planning. The second is that each one, the manager should guide the people he's working with. she is working with, and monitor, orientate their team members to implement specific plans. So the manager is not only the one that looks at her people saying, okay, I'll see you at the end of the year and try to do your best, and she just doesn't say anything. She should be guiding her people towards their specific plans that each one of them has. And on the other hand, each member of the team, of her team, should be engaged in adapting her or his activities to the objectives of the organizational unit. At the end of the process, then you have the evaluation. That is the comparison between actual and expected outcomes in the action plans. Analysis of gaps allows for individual skills upgrading or organizational changes. Now, when you look at what happened, when you are evaluating the action plan that you did here, that you did here, it's an opportunity to find out what changes you have to make to your own skills and to the people that are working in the unit, so that you can actually identify the training actions or the upgrading of the skills, or maybe another university course or a master's degree, a further master's degree, or maybe just a contact with a research center to evaluate, to understand in more depth what the problem, what the issue is. So the evaluation is an opportunity to develop both the people and the organizational unit that's performing that plan. And so understanding where were the problems, where were success and failures, then that helps you improve the unit. And so that after the evaluation, the fourth phase of the cycle is compensation. Now, there's a basis, the basic compensation, and then the company can have a bonus. If you reach certain results, you can have this bonus, but it doesn't need to be only a monetary bonus. It can be, for example, if you are very much interested in a specific, for example, I'm just inventing a legal area in the banking system, maybe the company can say, okay, you did a good job in the past year. You want to become an expert of legal aspects of the banking system. Then we pay a course in a university that's known to to have good courses in legal aspects in banking, so that you can then help in certain projects that have an information system that has to take into account complex legal problems, so that it's good for you and it's good also for the company. So the attention that we made clear to this company is that the compensation is not necessarily only in monetary terms, but also in non-monetary terms, like it is a cost for the company, but at the same time, for the person that's attending the course, it's not a monetary compensation. It's something that supports her development, her intellectual development, her skill development. So it's not immediately monetary, but it's only indirectly monetary. So this is the way it was thought, that this performance management cycle would be implemented, was tried in the following 6 months, and then if it gave good results, then it would become institutionalized. That is, this would be the new way to evaluate people and their performance. And as I said here before, the last thing is that needs assessment plans. From the evaluation, you would have an assessment plan of the needs in training, in new organization information to support new changes in the structure. Okay. Now, what is the structure of this as we said? Well, at the beginning we have the first phase that is planning. Okay, but you plan, you do it according to a script of some sort. So let's see. The idea was to base the new performance management system on the elaboration of action plans. The manager of each organizational unit was to explain and to negotiate with his or her supervisor the objectives that were to be pursued during the following year. Then he discussed them with his people in one-on-one meetings. Management on each level negotiated the action plan prepared by the lower level units so that a general alignment with corporate objectives could be achieved. Performance appraisal was based on the gap between objectives and results. The structure of the action plan was lean, 5 sections. 1, perceived firm overall priorities, specific objectives of the unit person, operational strategies to pursue objectives, critical issues, unit or person capabilities development policy. You see, this is with no one wanted to have a very analytical, cumbersome kind of script or paper. They wanted to have specific, but very pointed, very specific, very very operationally capable of operationally rich suggestions of what should be done. Now I don't have here some examples of these action plans, but during the we had the groups of project teams that were developing these structures that worked for not full time, but only part time, maybe in the weekends, to develop examples of these action plans. Because then they would be a guide for all the people that not participate in the teamwork. And they were very practical, you know. They were saying, we'll have to attend courses in this IBM kind of, or this Oracle way of management or how they work. So they, very important also this unit person capabilities development policy. Now let's get into that. I remember that before I showed you in the slide, in the preceding slide, and even the one before this one here, you see skills inventory. Now, what is the skill inventory? I'll show you the one that was developed by Bio. Okay, I'll get there in a second. I'll tell you of course, it would be interesting to find out, to see exactly what were the. Okay, here is the skill inventory. As you can, I'll show you. It was divided in 3 main areas. That is information technologies, banking skills, and managing skills, communicate, negotiate, planning, and involving people. Management, performance management, motivating, performance management to delegate, performance management to evaluate, performance management to develop your people. So here it was given high. It was very important. For now, here you have the different jobs. Okay, here in the software part, and here is the hardware part. So this you had high, average, and low. Here instead on the technical competencies, both legal and information technology competence, you had from 6 to even to 0. So what would that mean? That, for example, this job here need to have number 6. The level was this level 6. So we have to see what it meant to have a 6 on this kind of job. This was the head of all the software development of this company, of the outsourcing system. So this was very high, of course. 6, there's nothing higher than 6. But then you have 5 here. You see, 5 is being present in some areas here, some jobs here, in this job here. But so how was this this grid here developed? The 30 people that were interviewed, some of them were expert in legal aspects, some others in information technology skills, and some others were experts in coordinating, in motivating people. So all of these people, they were divided in subgroups, and they had first to identify this list. Why 17? Because after lengthy discussions, they came out that these were the most important skills concerning information systems. For banking, there were 4 basic skills that were supposed to be relevant. And here you had these 8 managerial skills. Now, let's see how this, you had to say 6. So it meant that the person that was the head of the software development had to add 6 in this in this skill here, 6 also in this one, but then he needed only to have 3 here, 1 in this skill, and in lower. But you see, in some jobs you could have 0. What would 0 mean? We'll see in a moment. You see, so this is a list of skills that were needed. You see, in total there are 17 plus 4, 21 plus 8, 29 skills that were key for the development of human resources that were working successfully in that company. And now, when you have this list here, it's very, and you have it by job description, then you know if the person here, this what is the skills it should have, the skill level it should have. But if then in the evaluation you find out that this person here, instead of having 3, has only 2, and instead of having 4 is only 3 or 2, then you exactly know where the training has to increase the skills of this person that's performing this job, you know. So this is why it is important to have this the identification of the skills and the weight per each job. So how do they come to agree on the 6, 5, 4, 3? Well, the discussion was first to find out a legenda. Now, 6, what is this? If you have 6, it means that you have knowledge at the level of strategy, which means that this knowledge have been developed by being in charge in a number of years of having projects at an expert level in different companies. So you must not be just graduated from a university. You've been working in other companies, and you have developed an expertise, a high expertise, so that you can define what strategy for that specific project or for that specific problem is best suited to grasp an opportunity or to avoid a problem. Who owns it is capable to contribute effectively to the definition of the company's policy in the technical areas. So 6, and of course this is the area 6 is the competence, the skill that the general manager of the software unit must have. But then let's see 0. What is 0? You can define it as a basic interaction. So the knowledge of notions and language which are necessary to someone that is not even an expert, who is not, for example, a computer, not even a nerd, just a computer. He can use a computer, but he doesn't know anything about the software. But it's called basic interaction, because he should be able to understand the main problems which you should have in order to be able to understand the needs of technical people. So if they need a specific kind of paper or a specific, for example, that's important for procurement. Okay, I don't have the expertise to understand the needs of a software developer, but then I understand that if he needs a certain kind of base software, I know how to get it. But I first have to understand, you see, then you have one is entrance skill, basic skills, specialist, intermediate specialist, advanced specialist skills, expert level is 5. So these are all descriptions. I don't want to translate each one of them because it's not of interest to you. This is just what you have to remember here is that you have to decide, for example, in the company for which you will work, after you have accomplished your circular economy master's or circular economy university journey in that company, maybe you have to be able to identify what skills are necessary in the different units of the company in order to make easier for the company itself to enter the circular economy principles. So you have you can identify, you have to list first all of these skills, and then you define together with the company, of course, with the experts of each unit, organizational unit, different levels according to the different jobs that are performed in each organizational unit. So once you define these intensities here, you can decide per each job what is the skill needed to make, who is responsible for the job in a specific unit, what he should do to make he or she, I don't use the he or she all the time, otherwise it gets too cumbersome for my communication, but I mean always that if the person, you know that in that job description, that person should know that much of a specific expertise in circular economy. Okay, so that's the reason why I showed you this thing here. Now let's see. Oh, now another, you see, classification of knowledge base for thematic areas. It was actually this, what I showed you here. I'll show you now. Just a second, I'm patient. And here we go. You see this here? This I enlarged it, and it's this one. So you can see it, but it's very useful to know for you to have this methodology here. Okay, this is the grid for job and skill profile this is called a script competence grid per job profile. See all the job profile, all the jobs are here listed here, and this is the job, the skill profile per each job. You see the intensity of each skill that has to be obtained by each individual person that has to perform this job. And this is the list of all the jobs. So you can do this concerning, for example, what in that specific company is an environmental skill or a circular economy skill. And here are the intensity, the methodology. How do you realize, how do you make this methodology? How do you decide how to define this description? Through meetings, in the sense that you meet an afternoon or a morning, whatever, with a number of experts within the company, and you say, okay, what is the strategic, the highest level, and how we define the highest level of expertise? For example, in the, I am inventing, in the 3D printing. Who is the expert of 3D printing? No one here? Oh, what should we do? So you do what you do, you resort to this grid here, classifying you see, in the case of bio, we built this in which you have all the sources. Now the red arrow. Now here's a list of all the sources of knowledge that they could think of and in which they were connected, stably connected. So you can see that you can find there are also engineering, these electronics, there are Hewlett Packard, IBM, Lotus, Memorex, Microsoft. So these are your, okay, they are your suppliers, but while they are suppliers, they are also sources of information, technologies, what's happening at the moment, case histories, business cases, etc. And here the study group was in charge of putting across of which one of these suppliers or institutions would be more adequate to go and ask and give you the knowledge necessary for that specific area. So what you do, one of the people in the team, if it doesn't have the information, he can ask some, maybe, I don't think IBM is an expert on 3D printing. I don't know what would be a supplier, but then in those cases, you can ask a supplier in which you are in touch, and you say, hey, and they tell you, okay, in selling you and in tailor making for your company, the 3D printing, we have found difficulties because your people didn't know this and this and this. So you can identify what kind of knowledge that you can use a 3D printer without having to call every day to your supplier, which is who is making you pay for that call anyway, for the time it uses. Okay, so basically, these are the methodological tools that you can use also in the companies you will work with in order to convey your expertise as methodologists, because again, in order not to make abstract projects, you need to use the expertise of the people working there. Of course, if it's a new company, then you have to start from scratch. And so you are the ones that are going to go and ask the expert of the 3D printing, for example, or for the Internet of Things, if that is going to be used by some of the, maybe if you're producing engines or pumps or whatever, what kind of if Internet of Things are you going to use to update, to have the sensors that are built in your engine or in the pump? The engineers to your engineers for giving them the appropriate information. So as you can see, it's not that easy, but at the same time, it is, you know, people have been working on this and this. With the, I won't be able to give you all this, but I can give you this slide. I can give to you. So when we can, when we'll have the that I ask you if you want to have an extra hour or so going through the slides, we can stop to these slides again and get some more in depth. Then the next slide is okay. Because of time constraint, it will not be possible to discuss the competence center case. Methodology was in the bio case. However, I give you this knowledge intensive perspective. Two cases are synthetically described in an article, which I co-authored with Professor Dudley and Professor De Marco in 2011, innovating information system management by enhancing knowledge intensive service activities. The study of two cases in the banking sector. It was published in the International Journal of Networking and Virtual Organization. I just send it to you so you can read it in there, this competence center case, which is synthetically written in there, but you can read it and you can ask me questions. But then, so the last slide concerning the change management is try and make things as simple as possible, but not simple. This is Albert Einstein's sentence cited by Igor Antsov, which is or was, because I think he would be about 100 years old now. He actually is the most famous expert in business strategies worldwide. Igor Antsov is known for having written Implanting Strategic Management. And this was the last slide he used in a seminar that I attended in Schönbrunn, Vienna, Austria in the mid-80s. So at the beginning of my consulting career. And I remember that I invested a lot of money, personal money, something like $5,000 in order to attend this 3-day seminar. But just to let you know, in this seminar, there were the 3 sons of the Barilla, Barilla, the pasta maker, which are one of the richest people in Italy. So I decided to invest that money because actually this man here was, besides being a very intelligent person, was had a lot of experience. So it was one of the best investment I ever made for my own career. And then I think it is very true. Try and make things as simple as possible so other people can understand you, but not simpler. There are certain things that are just not simple. And that's why we spoke about complexity. We spoke about, so when you speak to people within the company, you don't have to think as very complicated ones in order to make you being necessary for the understanding of other people. You try to make them as easy as possible, but not understatement. That is, you must not be a champion of understatement. You have to be responsible to say where a thing is difficult and hard to accomplish and when it is not. So, okay, this is the last. Now let's see the 2 seminars. I have the 2 seminars. Monday 20th, I told you yesterday at 5:15. geopolitical, legal, and ethical aspects of digital transformation. Chiara Civitelli, official of the General Directorate for Digital Innovation, Simplification and Statistics of the Italian Ministry of Education. Thursday, May 23rd, 5 p.m., Achille Sassi, A2A, this is hybrid company. I told you yesterday what they do. Generative artificial intelligence in this company. How is it going? That is actually telling us with respect to last year what they did, what the problems are, and what they are to expect. So it is, as I told you, is in charge of evaluating the offerings that companies make to the artificial intelligence, generative artificial intelligence. I thought it was an interesting for you because generative AI, you know, there are a lot of discussions are about it, how they are how generative AI is dangerous for companies and for people. Is it true? Is it not true? What are the problems? How to cope with it, etc., etc. Now let's finish today's lesson with the next steps. Project work. Copy your project work paper on the Moodle Wiki space. May 15 is the deadline. Choose a colleague's paper, read it, and send your comments both to me and to him by May 22nd. Third, prepare your presentation for May 28th plenary session, maximum 8 minutes. So I told you yesterday that maximum prepare 8 slides, but try to organize yourself for 5 minutes. And usually, because you'll be a little bit maybe nervous because of the presentation, usually it takes you longer. So if you plan for 5 minutes, probably you end up with 8 minutes. But if you plan for 8 minutes, you end up with 15 minutes. And as I said yesterday, we don't want your colleagues that will be the last ones to speak, be the ones that will have to speak with people that are yawning and are just not happy. Now, I expect you on the 28th, the plenary sessions, the ones that are in Civitavecchia, of course, be present, and the ones, for example, Vanessa Grimani from Grosseto, if she can, if she is able to come over, just like if there are someone staying in Viterbo to come to Civitavecchia for that day. Because so the presentation will start at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And then remember that you have time to change your project work up to 1 week before your exam date. So let's see these exam dates: June 4 and 20, July 8, September 10 and 25th. Tomorrow I'll prepare the slides and I will send them to you. So if you want to write them down, or maybe the day after tomorrow, I'll put these dates on GOMP and you have it open. You can just book yourself for the date you choose. Maybe June 4 is too early. Maybe June 20, July 8, September 10 and 25. So, questions?
Yes, sir. I am Salik. Today I tried to text you on WhatsApp.
No, who is it? I can't understand anything.
It's
Sorry.
Calixte.
So, Calixte, what are you talking about?
Yes, I'm talking about the project. On 26 March, I send you the name of project and I send the message of confirmation on WhatsApp. You told me there's no problem about the name.
No, it's not. I haven't. I cannot hear anything. I think you have the same problem as Mr. Sano and the other ones that spoke today. There is some problem with the internet. because I get very
I
disturbed.
don't know. I don't know.
Calixte, what is, can you write, just write your,
Okay, let's light on. No problem.
so I expect you by the 15th, you to upload on the wiki space your project work, and at the same time to send it to me, and together with the non-financial statement, because I have to know what have you read. Okay, so don't forget. At the same time, you have to choose your colleague, the paper of you, the colleague you are going to comment upon, and let him know by the deadline that I just said before
Professor,
your suggestions, so that you contribute to his or her success. Okay, so you contact your colleague that you decided you are going to evaluate the.
yeah, Professor.
Yes, you better
Yes.
write it, because as I told you, I cannot understand anything.
No, now it's just a simple question. I'm done with that already. Can you hear me now?
Pardon? I can it's the same problem. I hear you,
Okay.
but I can hear, but I can hear like okay.
I will write. I will write. Right.
Okay. Oh, my company. What's the name of your company, Calixte? What's the name of your company again? Yeah, I gave it the 26th of March. I don't have a memory like a computer. So what is the name? Can you tell me the name of your company, please? Ferrero. It's on the it's right on the wiki list.
See.
Ferrero. Then you don't write Ferrero, but you write Ferrero. It's a large company. I think it's the largest company in Europe concerning food, you know, and breakfast food and the lot. So I let you do it, but watch out that it's on. So before you tell me things, look at the things that I did already. You should do that, because otherwise we cannot go anywhere. You know, we're speaking about what's the name? We're speaking about circular economy, and then we don't even read if the things are up yet or not. So I expect everyone to upload their work by the 15th. Okay? Okay? Is it clear?
Yes, it's okay.
Yes,
Then,
Professor, it is. Yes.
so if you want me to, two conditions, if you want me to have, to go over with you to the slides that I've used during the whole course, we can organize that next week or this week. Now, I'll let you know.
Okay.
I'll propose on the chat, on the WhatsApp chat, a date and an hour.
Okay.
And of course, if I would like to have at least at least 5 people attend this thing, because if it's just a person to person, it's okay. But, you know, I will
Yeah.
need to have at least a few people, a few of you that would like to have that. And then we can use about an hour. So let me know. By tomorrow, I'll put on the common, in the WhatsApp group, I'll put my proposal for the date. If you cannot do that, then I am open to change the date or the hour. But
Okay.
please answer. Don't ask questions that I cannot answer. Like I wrote to you on the 22nd of July of 2014. How do I remember that? Or, you know, you have to understand that we are limited human beings. So, and then read all the papers that we pay.
Yeah.
Could you know the receipts of email if you have received it? Could you acknowledge? Well, no, I do not do that. I'm not a bureaucrat. I don't acknowledge. If you write to me on a WhatsApp, I told you I sent an announcement on which I said, please write to me on a WhatsApp the name of the company. If you don't find it, if you the name of the company and your last name. Only one person, and it was Bella Canzone, who wrote to me that I didn't put on the wiki his company, which is P Quadro. So please try to do what I asked you, because I wrote it on the announcements. If you go in the list of announcements, you find everything there. But you have to do your part, otherwise I cannot do mine. Okay, is it clear?
Cool. Yeah.
I hope so. So I don't acknowledge the receipts of the email. Okay? we speak, we seeing each other 2 days in a week. So you have the chat here. So don't make me turn into a bureaucrat, because I'm not bureaucrat. If I want to be a bureaucrat, I wouldn't be teaching here. I would have another job, right? Okay. We'll see you then.
Okay.
I hope I won't have to come again. I can accept someone uploading and sending me the information, the email by maybe the morning of the 16th, but don't wait, especially because you'll have to send to me also which colleague you choose to comment on her or his paper. So let me know that. Maybe the easiest way, and that's my proposal, listen to me now. My proposal is that you write on, once you have agreed upon with your colleague that you are going to comment his or her paper, please write it on your last name and the last name of the colleague with an arrow or whatever, say, for example, Sano on, I'm inventing, Isaac, for example, or Sano on Calixte, or Sano on Usman Adejo, or vice versa, Usman Adejo on Sano.
On WhatsApp. We do that on WhatsApp.
By WhatsApp, so a very synthetic way of communicating that to me. So we don't have this paperwork, which is the death of environmental evolution, social evolution, and company profitability. Okay? Okay, now, if you don't have any other question, we finished. You go to your project work, and I go to my project work. Okay? Well, goodbye now. And I'll see and by the day after tomorrow, latest, you'll find on GOMP, on that dates, the open, you can book on which date you choose. All right?
Okay, thank you, Professor.
Last question. Okay, I
okay.
understood. Thank you, Sano. I understood you. Thank you.
Check it out on WhatsApp. I have sent it on WhatsApp already.
Okay,
Sano on. I put Sano on something. Check it out on WhatsApp.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Ciao, ciao. Thank you. Okay.